Hi and welcome back to my channel. My name is Ashley from Ashley Corinne Studio. I'm so glad you're here. I am a knit and crochet designer from South Florida with two little boys, and this week I am showing you an update on a project I've been working on called the Sheepish Little Sweater. I'm making it for both of my toddlers before we take a trip to England in a few weeks. So I'm under the wire to get this finished. I went ahead and made the size 2T and the size 6 for my sons, and this is the size 6. I finished it just a couple days ago, and I forgot to take a lot of video, but I wanted to show you guys some things I learned along the way. So first of all, I did a swatch, and I actually did 3 swatches to check my gauge with the recommended size needles, and the first swatch came out way too wide and also too short. So I went down a couple needle sizes until I could get the stitches width to be accurate, because, and this is with a lot of like Googling and YouTube and whatever, so correct me if I'm wrong, because this, normally I don't gauge swatch, but because it's for my boys and I'm under the wire, I really want to make sure it fits. Basically, the idea is that you can change the depth. Like a lot of the pattern says like knit until it's 8 inches under the armpit or whatever. I can always continue to do extra rows, but the width of the stitch matters a lot more, because the raglan, the shoulders, all of those things need the width to be accurate. So I kept going down needle size and needle size until I got to 3.75 millimeters, which is what I'm using now. I think originally it calls for 5 and then 4.5 for the smaller ones. And I'm all the way down to 3.75. Now, this is yarn I got from Michael's. Check out my last video so that you know what it is, because I've already forgotten. But it came in 2 different colorways. I got a green colorway and a blue colorway, and I only had to get 1 ball for both sweaters, and I was kind of skeptical if I would run out or not. But I'm already on the raglan for my youngest, and I still have this much left, so I think I'll actually be okay. Here's my top complaint. First of all, I love working with this yarn. It is the kind where like if you have to frog, it's gonna end up snagging, because, and I'm not sure if you can see this well, I can take another video if not, but it is spun in a way that it's got a halo, you know, it's not really like ply. So if I start taking it apart, it's more like a roving. I don't know the actual term for this, so I need to look it up, or you can tell me in the comments. But look, if I take this apart, maybe I can get my hand behind it. It's just one ply, I guess, right? So like if it ever comes a little bit unspun and then I knit, I end up knitting into some of these fibers, and that kind of locks it in place. Now that's okay. It's not great to catch all those fibers every time, but if it happens, it happens. But then if you have to frog, it's gonna ruin that yarn, and then you have to use more yarn. So I'm trying not to frog. So I was working on my size 6 for my oldest, and something that I noticed in the picture, look, where does it look like the sheep start in this picture? Shortly under the armpit. But the pattern said to keep knitting for 8 inches under the armpit and then do the sheep, and that kind of locks it in place. Now that's okay. It's not great to catch all those fibers every time, but if it happens, it happens. But then if you have to frog, it's gonna ruin that yarn, and then you have to use more yarn. So I'm trying not to frog. So I was working on my size 6 for my oldest, and something that I noticed in the picture, look, where does it look like the sheep start in this picture? Shortly under the armpit. But the pattern said to keep knitting for 8 inches under the armpit and then do the sheep. And then this is why you read the pattern first, you guys. This is why you read the pattern first, because I went ahead and just started knitting, and I knit and knit and knit and knit, and then I started my sheep, and after the sheep it said do the fence. I did the fence, and the next step is ribbing. Look at the test photo. The next step is not ribbing. There is a good section. There's like as much ribbing as there is green grass underneath the fence. I was expecting to start my sheep up higher and have like half of my sweater be green, and instead I followed the pattern exactly and had the sheep right at the bottom, and the sweater is like mostly blue, and that's just not giving the color blocking that I was hoping to have. which is frustrating, and also that's on me because I should have looked at the pattern and read it and realized. But I do think that if you publish a pattern and the photo isn't made with the pattern you publish, it's a little bit misleading. I'll just say that. Also, there's a lot of color work here, and then there's no green section at the bottom. This ribbon keeps flipping up. So I'm unhappy with the body. But I went ahead and did the arms, and I started the arms green, kind of where I wanted the green to start, just a little bit higher. I don't know if you can see that. But I went ahead and marked it with a stitch marker where I'd like the green to start. Sorry, not where I'd like the green, but where I'd like the sheep to start, to come up a little higher. And then if the sheep start here, they'll finish here, and then have the fence. And then this whole section would be just green stockinette before the green ribbing. And so I think I'm gonna come back and do this, but I need to make sure I have enough yarn for my little one because I don't wanna have to go back to the store. So my plan is to save time to do that at the end. And like I said, frogging in this yarn is no good. So I'm gonna end up cutting it at this spot, joining in my sheep and doing the sheep chart all over again. It really doesn't take that long because it's a pretty small sweater. But my main concern is that I have enough yarn for my little one, just in case I have to frog something for him. I just don't want to run out. So right now for my size 2T, I am on the raglan increases, and it's a pretty straightforward pattern, you guys, and I love a little raglan sweater on my boys. So I've only put in like a day of work on this. I'm gonna try to knock it out this week, and then I'll see you next week with the big like switcheroo repair job. The main thing for this one is making sure that I start the sheep high enough, like probably just after the armpit, maybe an inch under the armpit, because 2T is such a small size. So I wanna make sure I start that high enough, so wish me luck, and that is my update. If you want to make sure to see the finished product and follow me on my journey, I would love for you to subscribe, hit that button, and I will see you hopefully next week with 2 finished sweaters. Thank you guys for watching.